Hello, this is an Infiniti M45 and today we'll be working on the power steering system. The symptom that got our attention was a burning smell. A horrible smell is how my brother described it. And so he came here, he noticed that the fluid in his reservoir was a little low and he added it. But underneath the vehicle, doing some prior work, we had noticed that the power steering pump had a little bit of seepage on it. We'll get to it in a little bit, but I just wanted to point it out. So he tightened a certain bolt on there. I'm not sure what it was exactly. And he thought he had fixed it, but then got out of town, came back, and then you noticed that it was still happening. Now, when he brought it here today, I think he had just had enough of it. And he said the steering wheel was still pretty tight and the smell was still there. He removed the covers and I noticed that this place looked all clean. It looked like a car that you buy from a used car lot. You know how they spray all that Amarol everywhere? Yeah, everything looks clean or oiled over here. And so I figured that his belt had been spraying something around. And we removed the belts, and what do you know? So this is the main accessory belt, and this is the power steering belt. Yeah, so that belt needs attention. My theory is that he was either smelling the burning belt or the burning belt and burning oil, because obviously oil got transmission fluid, which is power steering fluid, went everywhere. As you can see, there's evidence of it. The question is, where is it leaking from? Was it leaking from the top and then spewing all over? Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of evidence of that. I don't know why. Maybe because it was not being driven, in that the belt was not working, and then it ended up overheating and spewing over. It should not be that bad, but here we are. Second option, or second cause, could be this right here. See this hose? This is a high pressure power steering hose. And if you can see at this metal crimp, there's a little bit of fluid pooling over there. Those hoses do fail, and when they fail, you have a few options. One, buy a brand new one from the dealer, and it cost me, they go for about $500 I think, but when I bought mine I paid about $380, and I said I wasn't going to do that again. So I took that. I needed it urgently at the time. I took the old hose to our hydraulic shop and they repaired it for me. There are two crimps. This one here, this is the one you saw over there, and then we've got another one over here that goes to the power steering pump. This other one goes to the line that goes to the back there. It's all swivelly and stuff, but they hooked it up. So my brother is the unluckiest man in the world, because he knows somebody who's always got parts that he needs. A strategic thing to buy this M45, I think, but we're not going to talk about that today. So we're going to do two jobs in one. One, I need to remove this hose from his vehicle so we can see what the deal is. And number two, we need to also remove the power steering pump. I feel like his had a problem, and let me go underneath here and take a look. The bad thing is that right now everything has been leaking, you know. But here's a power steering pump. And last time I did a video on this, people complained that, hey, well, you're not even doing it in the vehicle. We need to see how to do it on the vehicle to know what we're doing. So maybe we'll figure this out this way. Here's a curveball. I have a replacement pump. It's pretty new, but it came from a JDM engine. And it's set up a little differently. It's clocked a little differently. If you look at this and you look at the angle here versus looking at this one here, the pipe is going straight up. But I know this because I've done this in the past. You can actually remove this, and everything else at this point bolts in the same way. So I can remove this and remove this from this pump over here, and it's going to work exactly like the original one. So I'm going to remove some connections and then transfer this stuff over to this pump, and then we'll keep moving. So that's what our project is going to be. It's going to be big. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, it's leaking from everywhere. Why exactly did it start? But since we're down here, might as well just try to kill two birds with one stone if we can. Up there I was showing you guys the high pressure power steering hose. You can see this crimp right here, probably. comes here, and then it goes to the back. And this is where it ends with that flare nut. And if you can see this thing right here, this is the power steering pressure sensor right here. So that's still connected to the body. And then this is a flare nut that we remove. So hopefully having him here will help things go a lot faster, but we'll see how it goes. Ooh, I just ducked some oil. So yeah, let's get it. High pressure power steering hose right here. It's connected to the pulley up here with a big banjo bolt, and then as it loops around, it's connected to the rest of the line. There's a flare nut wrench here, flare nut over here, you know, and then there is a power steering pressure sensor. So first thing is I'd like to remove this sensor. Just squeeze and pull up. Nice and clean, huh? Considering what it's working on. I have this pan over here to catch whatever drips out, because ultimately I'm trying to open the bottommost part of the power steering fluid system, and before dealing with the pump, even when I remove the pump, it will probably leak out, but I'd like to start with there, and then it's going to release anything up to this level. You know, there's still going to be a little bit in the system over here, but it's not such a big deal. So for that, I'm going to, I've got an adjustable wrench here. This is what I'm going to use to hold this part right here. Now if I can get in. Okay, this is not too hard. I can get this part here. And then I need to get the right size flare nut wrench. I can't remember if it was a 12 or a 14 or even a 13. 14 it is. And this is what a flare nut wrench looks like. Because if you go with a normal open-end wrench, you'll strip something. And I'm sure they give you a torque spec when you're doing this, but how do you torque this thing, you know? So hold this, and I'm trying to get my orientation correct. Yeah, I think I'm going the right way. It's really tough. Oh, it does happen, folks. Nice and tight over there. I gotta say, I am grateful. Well, I guess it's a circle of gratitude. I'm sure my brother, well, I hope he's grateful that I'm doing this for him. Number two, I'm grateful that I've got someone holding a camera. For once, I rarely have help when working. And you guys should thank him for holding the camera. And I guess thank him for having the problem in the first place. Am I going the right direction? Yeah, it is the right direction. I just can't get a good handle on it yet. You know what I'm going to do? Come right underneath it here. And then... So this part is not such a big deal because this part stays stationary. It's this other part that I'm fighting right now. I might have gone the wrong direction. I'm not sure. I wanted to go this way. Does that make sense? This way. It looks clockwise to us turning it, but it's actually counterclockwise when it's operating side. So this, if I can grab it this way, then this can go. Oh, I can actually hold a big housing. Wow. Someone was here. This is really, really tight. Oh, yeah, there you go. I feel like I should have removed the stabilizer bar for this. Okay, that's tight. And then, as I said, I want to turn this the other way. snap it goes. Alright, so it's a little bit of a fight, but here we go.
Is that the sound we're looking for?
Yes, sir. And this is a compression fitting, or flare nut style, as they call them in industry. You see that? Now, we don't mind that kind of dripping because that's predictable. We want that. Okay, now. I just come think of this. Do they make 12-point flare nut wrenches? I don't know. So that you might be able to tell by looking at the liquid coming out, but my brother, I don't know who advised him, wasn't me, but he used stop leak. So that's like honey. I told him, yeah, you're pumping honey. That might have been what even killed your belts, because I know we looked at his belts last time we were under the car and they did not look too bad. This part is interesting because now when you're doing this, when you're installing it, we have to make sure we don't cross thread anything. You can see how tight it is, huh? Just random thoughts again. Does anyone make a ratcheting, a gear wrench for a gear open-end wrench? Yeah.
Don't break my phone.
Your phone is the least of our worries right now. You don't want to strip these anything here, because I'm sure you have a warranty on your phone. You don't have warranty on your brother working on your car. FYI, just in case. Can't even say, oh, it's close. I don't. It's been such a long time since I replaced that hose. Man, why is yours so bad? Wasn't yours like a California car? Mm-hmm. I did mine, and I don't think I had such a fight with it, but I did mine at 79. I can't remember the mileage at check, but yes, it does happen to every. I think eventually everybody will need to replace, but it seems like M45s kind of face this problem a little more often. See, now if I had a 14 open-end wrench, then I think I can take it home from here. Nah, feels like we've got a stripper coming, so I'll set that down. I gave this a little bit of time. It's pretty. The pump is hot. I think because of you barely had any power assist, so you were just rubbing the belt on these parts. closer. My well-calibrated hand is feeling like we're getting real close. Oh, from the fender by hand. There you go.
Okay. Ooh.
Alright, there's a honey. Power steering fluid, also known as automatic transmission fluid, is kind of funny. I know, depending on what vessel you look at it, the color might look very, very different. Although, as I said, I feel like this is honey. Can you see the reservoir up there? If you turn the phone this way, maybe you'll see the reservoir. Not really. You kind of see the fluid running out of it. But while that's still going on, I'm going to go to the next part of removing this hose, which is right here, 10 millimeter. This is usually fun when replacing engines, because it's like one of those connections you almost always forget until you're pulling the engine and it catches you like, ha. Okay. So I suppose I'll just put this here so we don't lose it. We'll remember. Looks really clean. It is indeed a non-snow belt car, non-rust belt car. Yeah. As juicy as this is, I believe you had a leak here too, so we're addressing that. Okay, while down here, the next thing I'd like to look at is, if I can get at it, depends on the angle, but can you see where this hose goes right here? Can you see this hard pipe? This is the other end of this hose right here, okay?
Oh, that's the one you said it was.
Yeah, this is
right
the one
there.
that's leaking, okay?
Oh, that's exactly what I was smelling.
Yep. So this part, I need to disconnect this part. If you're just doing a normal replacement, all you need is this big bolt right here, and it's a 23 milli. And I'm trying to think of how we can do this. We can actually tag team this. I'll need to attack it from the top and the bottom. Yeah, let me do that just to show people how the complete job would be done. But I would, for what we're doing right now, if I wasn't doing it for YouTube, I would just remove it here because it's easier and more accessible. And this is like a 19 millimeter. So it just really depends on what you're going for. But yeah, as I said, I can do that just to show people exactly what it takes to remove it. Alright, so what you need for that big banjo bolt is a 23 millimeter, right? I'm sorry, it's a 24. I'm glad we're doing this video again. 24 millimeter.
Yep.
So this is a JDM one. This is a Japanese domestic motor one, but the banjo bolt is pretty much the same. 24 millimeter does it, okay? But the joint is a little interesting. So we have a swivel joint and our 24, and this is a breaker bar, but it was made in a way that it can be used as an extension. Then we got this, and then we got another breaker bar up there. Now this is a whole assembly. This is how we're going to do this. All right, so in the next few minutes, I think I'll have my brother show you guys how we end up routing it. And I don't know, we'll try to show you the top and the bottom, but you might end up just seeing one side of it. All right, cool, up we go. You think you can kind of show them? All right. So you have to, what you're thinking about is feeding it on the, as close to the side as possible, right?
Yep.
Over. What's the one obstacle to think about? Just the hose?
Just the hose. Yep.
All right. Let me see. Okay. Yep, it's seated over here. How are you feeling over there?
Oh, I'm good.
I guess you just have to put the phone down to do the job, though, huh?
No, I can do it like this.
Okay.
All right.
Actually, you do need to, because you need to hold the
The other breaker bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we managed to break it loose. It was a team effort to break it loose, but you can see it moving right now, right? Well, he's already moved it. Okay, you can pull it up. There's a banjo bolt. And here we go. As you can see, the big hose is now completely loose. Being a banjo fitting, there's a washer here on top of it. There should be. This might be the source of your problems. There should be a copper fitting there and another one on top. Now, if those are not there, this might be why your stuff is leaking, man. I don't see the banjo bolts. I don't see the washers. Okay, here's one. I'm sorry. Here's one. I need to see the other one. So we'll need to rush to O'Reilly's or something and buy new ones. But here's one. There's another one on this side of the... It's not here, and it hasn't fallen here either. So it's sitting somewhere here. Sometimes the connection is pretty tight that they just hang out there. Someone might have lost it. I can't feel it at all with my nail or, well, with my gloved nail. That might be the source of your problems, man. Well, one of them.
Let's see.
Remember, we determined that your power steering, that your engine was replaced at some point, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I feel like that's what happened.
What bolts?
So, a banjo connection. This, you know, this is shaped like a banjo, right?
Uh-huh. This was on top here.
And they call this a banjo bolt, right? This is what you removed, right?
Alright. This
So
is the
it goes
washer.
through here. It has a copper crush washer on this side, or a copper washer on this side, right? But you also need another one to seal this banjo fitting against the housing. I cannot feel the other one. It did not fall or anything. It's not... It would have moved by now if it were there. So now my theory is... Remember, we determined that your engine was replaced, right? They probably removed this connection. And when they replaced it, just maybe lost it and didn't think of it. I don't know. But, so that's one problem. But we've solved... We're going to remove this one. And when it goes back, we're going to use the replacement that I got. Hopefully it works well. They do work usually. Are you gloved?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Help me fish it out. So this is it, man. This is $500 hose. But as I said, for about maybe $70, maybe less, maybe more, depending on where you live, they can usually fix it up. But yeah, so yeah, I think we did our job. We replaced this. We talked about how to do this. Cool. All right. Then the next one will be removing the power steering pump. On this one, we might remove this clamp on the side. Oof, this crank pull is so hot. And we need to clean that up because rubber doesn't like fluids as corrosive as power steering fluid on it. So we'll remove that soon. But here, to remove the pump, we might need to remove this. We will need to remove this hose. This hose goes all the way to the reservoir, to the bottom of the reservoir. But yeah, we're kind of heading there. We're not too bad. So we just removed this high pressure power steering hose. This is a factory setup. This one here is a modification of the factory setup. The ends are factory, but I took it to a shop and they pulled the ends. You can see the way this looks, right? Then because we can't get this crimp and this one here, they just cut it off and have this fitting. So once I get the angles right, I'll just tighten this. The other end is the same, it swivels. You can see that the fittings, the crimp fittings are a little different, but it should work. Length seems like they kept it pretty much the same. There is usually, I'm trying to remember if there's a way that something connects here. I can't remember that. But as I said, I was concerned because we looked at yours and I saw a lot of power steering fluid pulling over here, and usually that's a sign of failure. So the best thing is just to replace it, and we have this continuous hose. I've explored, I've thought about getting an all metal line, but I didn't think there was much of a market for it, so I've just been holding this as a spare from my M45. But I was a sucker that paid for a brand new one. I just didn't pay 500. I paid 350, and then when I took out my leaking one, I just, you know, had it repaired and had it sitting. So the next thing I'd like to do is the power steering pump down there. But before attacking the bottom, I just wanted to address some things up here. One, this hose attaches to the other side of the power steering pump. We saw that the banjo from the high pressure, this one, the banjo from here goes to one side of the power steering, but then the other side comes here. I don't know how flexible it's going to be, so what I'm going to do is loosen it. It's a 12mm bolt. But before I get to that one, I might need to remove this vacuum tank. A lot of your stuff looks really, really new. You run the Carfax on that. Carfax look good, right?
Yeah, clean.
Oh,
No
I wonder where they got the newish engine from, though, you know? Because, I mean, if I were to replace with an almost new engine, personally, I'd like good records on it, you know? Okay, so now I've got my hand. Is this it? There's something called a sacrifice. Every time you work on a car and you're saving money, or solving a problem, your knuckles have to bleed. I feel like this is where my sacrifice happens today. Okay, you banged it, but not too badly. Okay, so I've loosened this hose, and that should be good to go, really. Now the other thing is back here. I'm going to loosen the entire reservoir. It is empty by now. A flathead could have worked, but I'm going to use this end on the back here. This is how I release this. Maybe a flathead I should have brought it. No, I got it. I think I got it. See that? That was holding it. I think I got it now. There you go. So now it's loose. And if I need to do anything down there, I'll be able to do it. You've got a lot of cleaning coming your way, and this hose will wipe it and hose it down properly just to make sure it's not... Yeah, it is wet right now, but I feel it's as a result of overflowing.
Overflowing, yeah.
That's my thought. Alright, so now we're going to go underneath the vehicle again. So I'm going to remove this, but before getting there, I believe I need this connection gone. So I'll get my very slippery pliers. Nice. So that's up. I mean, it's gonna turn, let it be. Right here I need 12, 14 bolt. Okay, so the 3 bolts holding this, one is a 12. Let's get it from here. Okay, 1 very juicy bolt. 2, this is a 12 as well. This one here is a 14, and the 14 goes all the way back here. It's a long bolt. It goes all the way back here. Now, just keep an eye on what happens when I turn this 14. What's the back? You see that whole thing moving back there? Yeah, so you move that till it blocks somewhere, because right now it's not really loosening at all. There you go. Much easier now. I don't know if that's crud or fluid leaking, but something's dropping. It's sort of consistent. There, you see it? Might have been that this bolt was holding the housing together. So if you were doing this from the front, just remember you need to hold it back, otherwise it'll keep spinning. Spinning and spinning and spinning. Alright, here you go. Now, theoretically, you could be able to remove your pump, but I have a feeling that this is going to be a problem. The alternator. But let me try. Let's just see how far I can go. All right. What's stopping it? It's the body of the whole thing. So you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to loosen this 19 over here. No need to fight it. I feel like that is my problem right now. It's not. Is it? 19. Yeah. There you go. Is this like a stud? Yeah, it's a banjo stud. Oh, I guess that wasn't really the problem. But down he goes.
Oh, so we found the washer.
No, that's a different one. That's different.
Why did you say that's not the problem?
Holding this up.
Oh.
Yeah. I hate to have to loosen the
Alternator.
Yeah, but you know what? Good thing I already removed the clamp here. I should have removed the power steering hose. This one here that goes to the reservoir. I feel like there's a solution somewhere here. Okay, I've removed it. Okay, so it's not a hindrance anymore. Now you understand why I had to loosen it at the top. Guess I could let it be. It's not really in my way. So with that tilted, I can now try to finagle this up and down and through, out. So that was so much psych. Okay, here is my new problem. This bracket. I could just do that. What problem? What problem? So I guess since we're sharing tips, if you're doing this for a US model, maybe don't even bother with this banjo connection over here. Ooh, missed it. Okay, out it is. So here's our situation right now. This is an Infiniti M45 power steering pump. This is the US model, at least 2007 model. This is what I call a JDM power steering pump. Part number to part number, they're quite similar, but it's actually a little different. Here it says AR000. This one here is EH000, if I remember correctly. That's EH00A. Okay, a few differences though. So the pump itself, the basics of the pump, it's the same thing. It's just the connections, the way the connections are made that are a little different. So first thing is this one here, high pressure connection. You can see this one is clocked a certain way. The JDM one, it's angled, right? The M45 one is usually straight up. So that's one difference. Second thing is this, the low pressure side. This is what comes from the reservoir. You can see this one comes straight in here. And I'd say for the most part the other one is the same too. We just bent this while trying to remove something else. And you can see by the hex bolts that they're located in the same place. Only difference is this one is shaped a little differently because of how big it is, and it seems like it's here to stop this one from going out of clock position. But otherwise should be the same. So our game plan here is we're going to replace this from the 08 M45 with this one here from one of those Japanese engines, and we'll make it work. My guess is if you had a 2003 and 4 M45 or 2002 through 2006 Q45, you could still borrow the power steering pump and use it in one of these, and vice versa. Just change these guys up here as it suits. But otherwise I think the housing itself is the same. Looks very similar to me. What do you think?
Very.
So yeah, you might not see this on video, but because we need two people to work on this, but what we're doing is switching this over to this other side, and same thing with this one here. This is a 19 millimeter, and then these are T40 Torx. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is install this pump. We have faked it in a way. This moth. This is the JDM pump. We've made modifications, so with the brackets originally here, we're going in. Remember, right? It's gonna work this way. I know I needed to work this tube out, something like that. All right. All right. Nice and easy. Tube from the top. Well, pushing it out was easy. Still got a little bit of room to go. Nice. It snapped in place. Felt it. What I'm going to do is set the others. Let's start with the 14 milli. I'm going to go with this to the back. I'm just placing it there. I have these 12s over here. Seems like that one is mostly in place. This is my 12. So back here, remember, you kind of need to push this washer in the back, the hook, when you start. You might keep spinning for a while until you push this to have it lock. So just hold it until it's close enough, and then at this point, if you keep turning, you will not keep spinning your, well, not too badly, your bolt. So up here, just have to remember the hardest parts. Well, I was going to say that the hardest parts of the pulley replacement are done, but still have that big banjo to deal with. I was just about to say, I didn't expect that to be the hardest part of the job, but it wasn't exactly easy either. Alright, so we're still going places. What I need to do now is the banjo bolt, so I'm going to need my assistant up there so we can get the banjo bolt that connects the high pressure hose to the power steering pump, and then after that connect the other part of the power steering hose to the rest of the line. Okay, so I had to work this. It's a little difficult initially, but I'm so glad that this one here came with a swivel joint, so I just loosened this and work this. There's a, I don't know if you guys were able to see it from the other videos we were doing, but there's a joint. This banjo has to sit a certain way in this connection to be clocked right. Well, at least the original one needed to be. This one here, maybe it's not so crucial because it's got swivel joints, but the way it's bent still needs to go around the alternator, for example. So I'm doing this the best I can. Hardest thing is balancing it out, and I know how washers go missing because it's sitting here and I'm doing this, trying to balance it out, making sure I don't cross thread anything. It's, yeah, does take quite a lot of skill. I'm lifting it just to make sure that the washer's still there, and it still is. So then I can keep going. Or I could just kind of go around. Now that that's there, this one is going to go here. But I'm not too concerned about tightening this one yet. But then in here, you can see that flare fitting over here? Yeah, so this is gonna go in this way. So right now it's more of a just dry fit before connecting everything permanently, making sure the ends are where the ends need to be. Now I hope I'm threading this one properly, but yeah, it seems to be going okay so far.
Yeah, because unlocking was that way, so...
Yeah, I need to get my flare. Right now I'm not really going to tighten this, it's just making sure it's going the right way without everything else fighting me. I'm really glad the shop I took it to went to those swivel joints because it's allowed me a lot of flexibility. You want to do this and tighten it properly. You don't want anything leaking. You might have noticed that there are no gaskets, but that's exactly how flare fittings work. No thread, thread tape, no O-rings. Some do have O-rings, but not this one. It's just metal on metal and flare to seal things up. Oh, it's now, well, hey. Kind of cool, but also concerning a little bit. Why is it so easy? So that part is mostly done. I'm going to now hold this down. Now remember, I need to, once I get my swivel right, I need to hold this down. So I suppose before doing this is why it was important for me to actually make sure it was home. Here, this is where it's gonna be. Trying to see if this is big enough to hold. Yes, it is. This one looks a little bigger. Looks like not a 15, maybe a 17. Yep. So again, similar connection. Once I tighten this, it's going to lock itself in that position. This is actually a little smaller. I'd say it's a 16 really, but it's working. All right, that's locked. We've got this part right here too. It's gonna be a little more challenging. I mean, I could, yeah, there's no way around it. I have to stick this in there. Before I do that, we might actually need to do the top first, so we can make sure this one is all good. But I suppose while we're still tossing things around, let me secure this side. Remember guys, good connections always click. There you go. Power steering pressure sensor. It's an interesting thing. If you don't, it can actually send your engine into limp mode. It's a funny sensor. Okay, so while I'm here, I'm going to lock this down. Think we got it without stripping anything. And what we'll do for joints like that is just let it be, and we'll come back later if we need to tighten it or anything. You know, once we start running stuff through the system, we'll check. So before I'm thinking about this, I already locked this one down, so that's good. was trying to think as to whether you need flexibility to get in there for this one or not. Doesn't really seem to matter, so I'll just finish this up. Time limiter. Okay, that's secure. Yep, that's good. So now what's next is I'll go tighten this banjo bolt down, and then I can work on this joint. So camera might go to the top, might remain here. I'm not 100% sure, but the whole point is I'll be tightening this one, and it's a team effort. All right, so right here, right? Getting it through here. Yep. So what's happened outside of off camera is that initially it was a little tough to sneak it through here because of the angle that we had angled this thing. So we loosened the big bolts down here. We'll talk about it later, but anyway, just go for it. Start hand tightening, right?
I can start?
Yeah, just cranking it by hand as far as it will take you.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, looking good. Not.
Not.
All right.
It's tightening it?
Yep, it's going well. It does help to have a second set of hands down here holding.
Oh yeah, this would have been frustrating. Alright, it's starting to get...
Enjoyable.
Yeah. That's about...
As tight as you can go.
No, actually.
Right, that's good, that's good.
That's good?
Yeah, let it be. I feel like I heard you exerting yourself.
Yes.
So what we're gonna do is, with something like this, you don't wanna overdo it too much, especially when you're just starting out.
Mm-hmm.
Just enough is kind of the name of the game.
Alright.
Then if it leaks, we'll tighten.
Okay.
So what we could do to help ourselves, I guess, is just leave it there for now. Let's go ahead and put the belts on,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll start playing the fluid game, filling it up and bleeding the system with air. All right, so let's not forget, these are the parts. Before going for this bolt here, I'm just removing it while I have room. Lucky. And this, my friends, is why you don't use engine under trays. I'm kidding. So here, let's push this back in. It's kind of juicy underneath. There's a little bit of cleanup, I think, because of the spray, but I believe it will do much better with an engine bay wash. So push and down. That's that. Come this way. And then here, we've got this. I need to put the belt down so you can hold the flashlight this way. Back here. Okay, we're going to secure that. there's probably a torque spec, but it's good for what this is doing. And then let's not forget this one here. Let's not leave it flopping around. Well, actually, before doing this, I'm going to take advantage of its removal to just install the belts. So let's start with a small belt. I'm going to wipe my hands a little bit and then do it. Okay, so I'm about to install the belts now, starting with the power steering belt. It's well seated. Make sure the belt did not go over this little tuning pin. That's what I call it. I don't know what its official function is. There you go. One down. Now we're going to do the big belt. That's it. Got it. Can you tell that I've done a few of these in my day? All right, making sure everything is seated well on the pulley. And once again, now we're gonna have to do this from the top. Let me go to the top. And this is why I wanted this one out. Or at least I was rejoicing that the vacuum tank was out, because I could not do this peacefully. Oh, that went all the way. I know why. You see the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's more like it. Just did not feel right. Now again, just put a hand on each of these, making sure the belt is halfway decently seated. It is. And go ahead and complete our work here. You know, I tell you, people used to give me crap when I first started posting videos because I had these shaky videos working by myself. Today, well, at least this video is gonna, these 2 or 3 videos we do are going to be judgment on whether getting assistance matters. You shook when I said that. All right, so I think we should be pretty good. Everything has been tightened, but now the job is not really fully done yet. So now let's add some power steering fluid. We're going to start with just filling this up. We know a lot of this system is empty, and I'm not ready to start the car yet, but when we do, you'll see it start overflowing in or bubbling or making some weird sounds. We'll get to that in a bit. Right now, you don't want to overfill it either, because once you start turning the steering wheel, it might start bubbling, and as anyone dealing with this problem right now will tell you, it does not smell great. So I'll leave it at that level. It's not too crazy, but almost immediately the car starts running, you'll see it almost disappear almost immediately. Okay, so we are about to start. The vehicle is still in the air. Wheels are in the air. It's going to make it easier when we start cranking the, turning the steering wheel left to right. And then over here, this is the fluid that I have. I don't know if I called it out. Power steering fluids, pretty much automatic transmission fluid, hydraulic fluids for the vehicle. And we have your camera here. It's going to just watch and see what happens. I have a feeling as soon as it starts it's just going to disappear, but I don't really know. You can never really predict everything. So for those situations, you got some wipes. All right, make sure your AC is off when you start the vehicle, okay?
Okay.
All right, go for it, sir. You see that? Disappeared immediately. You hear that? Got quiet. Right now, it's still working the air bubbles out. I'm gonna what? Oh, you see the video? Yeah, it drunk it up. So I'm gonna need you to start turning the steering wheel. Take it to the. You don't necessarily have to hold it all the way to the right. Just like for now, just kind of and lock to lock. Then roll your windows down. I can yell when I need you to hold or anything, but it's not too bad. These cars pretty much self-bark. They're pretty easy to do that. Right? Yes, sir. Left. Right. Left. Hold it on the left, hold it. To the right. Hold it. Center. Rev your engine to 2,000. Turn your wheel to the right. Left. Center. Let go. Turn it off. I had him do that because sometimes, funny as it is, you see the fluid just bubbling back up, but I think we did a pretty decent job of refilling it, that it's not struggling too much. But I suppose we should not be too overconfident. What I'm going to do is go underneath the vehicle and see how our connections are holding up. Oh, that explains a lot. No wonder. Okay, where's that leaking from? Oh, the one joint I forgot to close, huh? Yep. Well, that'll get you every time. Well, let's let it leak through, I suppose, and then I'll undo my mess. This is my fault, absolutely my fault. This joint right here, I was supposed to do something about it, but I did not. So, we'll redo that. Okay, we're about to do this again. We have tightened things. We have sort of made amends for the mistakes that we made, or the things that we postponed. So now we're going to do this again. And we're not going to be surprised when we see fluid disappearing. That thing was so loose. The connection was basically not even hand tight. It was so loose. So let's try to do this. And now the bleeding effort might go a little more as predicted, or as expected. There you go. Are you ready? Go for it, man. It might still disappear, but this time not because it's being pushed out to leak, but all right. To the right. left, right, left, center. Let me just look underneath there, make sure there are no more leaks. Doesn't look like it, but I'll still look. I need to wipe the areas that were leaking. I need to kind of give it a good rinse. All right, turn it off. Yeah, looking all right so far, I'd say. You know what we should do?
What?
Engine bay wash. And now we'll be working off non-greased up engine bay. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.